All right. Hi, everyone, and welcome all. Today, we are going to cover a session on Agile Project Management, and which will run for around 30 minutes, followed by a case study, which again will be discussed for almost 15 to 20 minutes. Now, here is the outline of what we're going to go through for next around 50 minutes, including the case study. My name is Anil Raina, and I am a design and skill transformation consultant with 20 years of experience managing large transformation projects and products in Big Four consulting, aerospace, and education technology industries. So let's get ready for an engaging and interactive session where we will explore the dynamic practices of Agile project management. And let's get started. Now let's quickly look at the session plan. So there are 8 sections, namely Agile principles and values, Agile frameworks, roles in Agile processes, tools for Agile, benefit and challenges, case study, and we'll have a final recap and closing where I will ask you to share at least one key takeaway from the session. And I hope everybody is able to see my screen. Everybody is able to hear me. Let me know if there's any issue. We can quickly look at that as well. And I hope that everything is going well. So let's get started with the session. Please keep your questions and answers, questions and comments flowing into the chat window. We will go through the comments questions as part of the session based on the time available to us. All right. So let's dive in. So you can see the session objective. I've already explained the outline, but as an outcome of this session, by the end of the session, we should be able to understand the basics of Agile project management, including the principles, frameworks, roles, processes, tools, and benefits. Now, they will engage you will engage in practical activity and analyze a real-world case study to reinforce and reflect on your knowledge as well. All right, so let's take a moment to reflect on, think about what comes to our mind when you hear Agile. Think about it. I will organize these into a word cloud, so I would expect you to put your responses in the chat window, and I will pick the responses from the chat window, and I will populate a word cloud. All right, I see a lot of words are being typed there in the chat window. Interesting. Let others also join. All right, here's the word cloud. So many of you have typed in terms of what comes to your mind when you hear Agile. I think the first thing which comes to your mind, and that's what you typed there. So I see that progress, testing, product, collaboration, Scrum, continuous improvement, sprint, flexibility, speed, iterative development. Now that's wonderful and great. I have got a nice word cloud now based on what most of you typed. And these are all words which are very connected and very relevant. And we will touch base on many of these words as we move forward in our session. So let's quickly move towards Agile values and principles, right? So this is the entire kind of foundation on which the Agile approach is based on. Let's look at these value pillars. I call them value pillars. Try to kind of quickly understand what these are. Now, individual and interactive interactions over processes and tools. This is primarily to emphasize the importance of collaboration and communication among team members over strictly following a predefined process and relying heavily on tools, which is a traditional way of, looking at your processes where you are heavy on a very linear approach. But here the emphasis is more on the interaction and the individual face-to-face time over a very strict linear standardized process or highly documented process. And the next pillar is working software over comprehensive documentation. Again, it's a very connected thing. But by working software means anytime you deliver the software, the value of the delivery is evaluated based on the functionality and the functions or the user functionality it's able to meet, right? So documentation is minimized, but the user needs are prioritized over producing extensive documentation that might not directly contribute to software functionality, right? Now, the customer collaboration is the third pillar, the customer collaboration over contract negotiation, right? So we all need that customer collaboration, but here there is a lot of focus on customer collaboration. Why? Because the whole idea of agile framework is that you are focused on the customer success there, right? And that's why the collaboration with the customer becomes very important rather than negotiating on the contract aspects. So stress is on the significance of working closely with the customers throughout the project to ensure that their needs are met, rather than rigidly defining a contract terms and just following up in during the course of the work. And the fourth important pillar is responding to change over following a plan. Now, in the traditional model, we have seen a plan is there, and everybody kind of tries to follow that. And whenever there's a change, it kind of disturbs the whole setup, and there's a lot of issues which comes out of it. And primarily, it kind of raises a lot of friction. But here, the change is appreciated. Here, change means that there's something has changed in the business, and how does it impact the business, the customer success, and the product and the users. So there's a greater appreciation to understand the change, and that's what it means when the change happens. So you have to respond to the change rather than react to the change. In the traditional model, you react to the change, but here you are responding to the change, and that's the key difference here. Moving on quickly, so we covered the four value pillars, right? So they are very foundational to the rest of the work which happens using agile frameworks. And based on these value pillars are 12 agile principles, right? Now they are all, you can see it on the screen, so I will just list them one by one and highlighting the importance of each of these. Okay, so we'll start with the first one, which is about the customer satisfaction. And I have already highlighted that why customer satisfaction is the primary principle here. Because as I said, the focus is on the customer success through early and continuous valuable software delivery, right? So that's why it becomes important. The second aspect is about the changing requirements, right? And we discussed just now that how change is appreciated in a more responsive way rather than in a very reactive way. And how do you harness the change for the customer's competitive advantage, right? Because change will not happen in vacuum or isolation. There will be always a business reason for it, or the requirements or the user needs have changed, and as a response to that, the business would kind of expect you to kind of be adaptive and be accommodative, right? So there are ways and means to kind of address the change, but the key aspect here is the mindset. How do you kind of respond to a change? The mindset becomes very important there, right? And the third is about how do you deliver working software frequently, right? About the frequency of delivery, right? So delivering working software from weeks to couples or months in a short time scale becomes very important there, right? Here, the focus is about not finishing everything at the end of a cycle or a long cycle. It is like finishing work iteratively, but every time you deliver a working software. So your frequencies cycles are much faster here. The velocity is much higher here, right? And the fourth one is about regular communication, right? So communication and coordination between different stakeholders there. The business people and the developers must work together. The business people and developers, they must work together because there's a greater collaboration and kind of alignment required there. The fifth one is about motivated individuals, right? Now, the projects are built around motivated individuals, right? People who are really excited and inspired by what the project and the product team is trying to do. And so it becomes very important to provide the right environment to your teams, right? And also support them and trust them, right? And that's very important. And that's how people get motivated, when you trust them, when you kind of provide them the support for the work which they're expected to do, right? And face-to-face meetings and conversations are prioritized over long emails, which is a very traditional way of looking at how you communicate with people, right? Because you are working in a very time-boxed kind of setup, and where there is no room for losing any time over communication or any kind of coordination issue, right? So face-to-face meetings and the short conversations are preferred over long emails and long conversations. Now, the other aspect is about measuring output, right? Which is the seventh value, right? Seventh principle. Now, how do you measure the output, right? Now, tracking outputs instead of tasks which are done, very important. So software functionality should work, and that is the way to verify the completion of any task, right? So it doesn't matter if it's in testing phase or a development phase, or if people have different views about whether the task is completed or not. What matters is that the software should function as per what has been specified as part of the requirement, right? So that becomes the criteria for measuring the output. Now, the eighth one is about sustainable development process, right? So you need to follow the whole the pace of development in a sustainable way, in a consistent way. And you make incremental improvements with control and constant velocity. The speed is important, right? So a consistent and sustainable kind of approach is very important there. Now, technical challenges, the technical excellence, and the good design, that's again very important principle which is followed in Agile. So for that, one of the things you do is you keep refactoring to keep improving the code without reinventing the functionality. So that way we call it technical debt or debt and higher maintenance cost, so that it doesn't go beyond your threshold levels. And the simplicity is again very important aspect, where you're focused on the maximum amount of work that could be done to deliver the maximum value from a user need standpoint. So you try to maximize the amount of work to be done, right? And focus on delivering most valuable essential features to your customers, right? I'm sorry. Now, self-sufficient teams, self-organized teams, it's also called a self-organized team. You would have heard about this term very well, very frequently. The best architecture requirements, the design that emerges from the self-organizing teams, right? The team members who are motivated to take ownership and responsibility for their work, right? So that way, it kind of helps cut down a lot of wastage and a lot of time which is wasted in coordinating and passing kind of responsibility to each other, right? So here, a self-managed team really takes the responsibility and ownership of their work. Now, the fourth and the last is about how do you ensure there's continuous improvement. So teams will have to inspect their process and adapt and changes and adjust its behavior to operate and collaborate frequently. And retrospective and sprint reviews are key to this principle. All right. So we covered all these 12 principles, and which is fantastic. So we will move to the next session, and we'll do a quick poll question here, right? So I have presented 4 choices here, and you look at these 4 choices, and you'll have to select one which according to you is the most challenging to implement in your projects, right? You would have come across many situations, and based on what you feel and what you see and what you think, you have to select one most challenging principle in your projects which you feel is very difficult to apply. All right, I'll take a couple of minutes. I'll open the poll window for everybody to respond. I will wait for a couple of minutes, and then we'll show the choices you have made on the next screen. I'm sorry. All right, so we can see you guys have typed your responses, which is great. Majority of you have voted for responding to change is the most challenging aspect, and that's fair as well, because managing changes is the mother of all the changes, actually. And I guess it's rightly identified here for here as well. Great. So let's move forward with the next topic, which is about the agile process and frameworks. All right, so we have covered the principles, the values, the principles, and now we're going to move over to the agile process and frameworks, right? So agile, there are multiple frameworks, right? But the key attributes of agile process is basically is that that enables team to deliver value incrementally, efficiently, and with flexibility to adapt changes, right? So that is the key aspect. Though there are multiple other frameworks as well, and each has their own unique focus and benefits based on the business domain and the nature of products and the projects they're expected to do. But for today's session, we just focus on 3 frameworks, which is Scrum, Kanban, and Lean, right? And Scrum is the most prominent one, and it has been kind of used by most of teams and most of the companies. And then Kanban and Lean, of course, these have come from Kanban and Lean have come from primarily from the Toyota manufacturing practices, and has been very successfully implemented. But Scrum is more of software-based, software product-based kind of practice, where it has been kind of used for most of the time. All right, and let's look at quickly on the Scrum process. That okay, the Scrum process, you can see that it has a certain flow. So you start with something like business objectives, you do the alignment, you try to create a product backlog, and manage that. And then you, followed by that, there's a sprint plan, right? So what are the things which are going to be, or tasks or activities you're going to be covering as part of sprint? And then you execute those activities, sprint execution, and then you kind of review them on daily scrums. Followed by that, there's a sprint review which happens, and then a retrospective, which is about, all of the team members sitting together, figuring out what went well and what went wrong, and how do you improve as you move forward in your journey. And Kanban is a Japanese term that means a signboard, right, or billboard. As you said, it's used in Toyota manufacturing. That's where it started, and it is focused on delivering the work items as soon as they are ready, right? So we'll show you Kanban board in the next slide, but here the focus is more about deliver the work as soon as they are ready, and kind of move the process as quickly as you can, and reduce the lead time. And lean is about maximizing the value by minimizing waste, and that's again part of the continuous improvement. And then just-in-time production, again part of the lean process. Value stream mapping, again part of the lean process, where you kind of look at the current state of a process and look at how much time each stage is taking, and what kind of interventions you can do to minimize the time or the cycle time there, right? So that's part of the value stream mapping and other aspects of it, right? So as I said, these are three main frameworks from agile process standpoint, and each have their own advantages, and they're used based on the kind of work or the projects or the industry you operate in. All right. So let's move on to the agile process again. A quick kind of recap on that. So as I said, the agile primarily focuses on planning, design, developing, testing, deploying, reviewing, launching, right? But it is done in an iterative manner, right? So a key aspect of the process is incremental iterative delivery, and therefore the projects are broken down into small manageable units, and each iteration typically lasts between 1 to 4 weeks and results in a working product increment. And similar cycles are repeated for each unit of the work in a meticulously organized and collaborative way. Quickly moving on, we touch base on this. What's the difference between a linear waterfall model and agile? You can see it from the image which I'm sharing. Waterfall is very linear, very step by step, and and while the agile is more iterative. So you do these iterations in small steps, in sprints, and complete the work. And with every release, you're delivering a working software. So that's the focus there. All right, quickly moving towards the roles in Agile. So in Agile, the project management team roles are designed to promote collaboration, flexibility, and continuous improvement, because that's the core philosophy here, right? In terms of roles, there are three important roles. There's the product owner, who's responsible for defining the features of the product, and deciding the release dates and the content part of it. They prioritize the backlogs items to ensure that the team works on the most valuable tasks. And the Scrum Master is another important role there. The Scrum Master acts as a facilitator for the team, ensuring that Scrum practices are followed. They help remove any kind of bottlenecks the team may face, or the project team, from external distractors. Now, including facilitating Scrum ceremonies and daily stand-up, sprint planning, and retrospective. That's part of the Scrum Master's role there. And then comes the development team. And as I said, there's a lot of focus on self-organizing, teams. So they are cross-functional, meaning they have all the skills needed to create a product increment. And then the other typical roles like agile coach or project manager. Now, these are largely, or their role is distributed to the roles of product owner, development team, and Scrum Masters, right? So, but some teams may have these roles separately carved out, but largely their work or their roles are kind of distributed between the teams and the Scrum Master, and the product owner. Now, there are other stakeholders, very important part of the stakeholder group, who are individuals or groups that have interest in the outcomes of the project. Now, they could be your customers, they could be users, they could be sponsors, and the parties which are affected by this project. So that's pretty much about the key roles in an agile team, and the roles and responsibility, with each focusing on their distinct contribution and effort. All right, let's do a small exercise now to jog your memory. I want you to go down the memory lane and pick up any experience that you may have encountered or come across during your stand-up meetings. So I'm opening the whiteboard here. You can type it there and let me see what comes to your mind. So share any experience with a daily stand-up which you have witnessed. You don't have to name your customers, but just at a generic level, you can explain what went wrong or what went good there, what were the positive experiences or challenges you faced, and how were they resolved. So I think everybody will get benefited from that interaction and that piece of information. So I've opened the whiteboard. I can see some of you have already started typing there, which is great. And I think I see some interesting insights there. Somebody has typed like effective stand-ups adhere to 15 minutes with everyone standing to encounter brevity, rotating facilitator role. So yeah, I think there's a focus on, I think what you're trying to communicate is the focus was on rotating the facilitator role so that everybody gets a line, and then there's also gets an opportunity to build leadership skills, which is fantastic. And I think another one has written about keeping the minutes, to stand up for 15 minutes, implementing a parking lot for detailed discussion. Again, wonderful. I think that's also something which we see frequently in the discussions during the stand-up. Some of the conversations go longer than what the time permits them. I think it's good to have a parking lot for more extensive discussions, which could be picked up later. And few others have also commented there. So great. I think thanks for sharing those personal insights. I think it is definitely going to help everyone. All right, let's move on quickly. Now, the next topic is about the tools and the platforms. I'm sure you want to know about what are the industry tools and platforms which are used to kind of manage the entire process there. Now, I've just highlighted 3 of these, and there are many more. And every day, every month, I think you'll find new tools and platforms coming up to support the agile processes, right? So Jira is something which is very widely used. It's an enterprise-wide project management software. It is widely used across various industries for project management, issue tracking, and agile development. And it has its own customizable workflows which would be supported. And it has some good advanced reporting and analytics and other customization features as well. Trello is web-based project management collaboration tool that uses boards like Kanban board, right? So the things which you're doing to do and which you're doing and which are done. So those are the primary kind of attributes of a Kanban board, which helps you to kind of track the activities in terms of primarily from a perspective that how much of work is in the backlog and how much work has been really done. So focus is to move your task as much faster as you can to the done bracket, to the done basket. Right, and then the third one is Asana. It's again a robust project management tool with multiple views like planning, dashboard view, and timelines. I found it quite interesting because in one single page you have multiple tabs to switch to different views there, which is very user friendly. So likewise, I said each of these tools have their own strengths and kind of benefits, and you can choose. You can kind of look at what's available there and follow any of these based on your needs. All right. So I think the next topic we're going to be covering is about benefits and challenges, which is very important, right? Now we've gone through a lot of, we've gone through the principles, the frameworks, the process part of it, and what is needed to be successful in Agile. And let's spend a bit of time to understand and reflect on the benefits and the challenges of Agile. As I said, the Agile mindset is very much in line with today's VUCA world, which is about volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and the ambiguity of the world, right? So we live in that VUCA world. So Agile becomes a very important tool there. But more than tool, or the framework, it's a mindset, right? So you have to really shift from a very waterfall model to a linear way of thinking to a very agile way of thinking, right? So the shift has to happen in mind. You have to be ready whenever, for example, whenever there's a change happening, instead of reacting to a change, you have to be able to appreciate and try to understand and respond to that change in a more meaningful and aligned way, right? So that's the mindset shift which is needed there to be successful, right? So Agile, of course, it gives you flexibility, adaptability. It gives you improved customer satisfaction because you're focused on customer, their needs, and what's happening in the business. And you, as a result of that, you also get the higher product quality and faster time to market. Very important, right? Everybody wants their software to be delivered or the product to be delivered now, right? So people don't wait for their software to be delivered for many years and months. They want things to be delivered to their users so that they can test these ideas, they can make the improvements, they can seize the business opportunity there and make money and revenue. And in the process, they will also look at improving their product software with each iteration. So that's what Agile tries to do and address that, right? And there are other challenges there. Now, that's not easy. It's very easy to speak about it, but then when people practice these things and when they try to meet these aspirations, there are a lot of challenges there. So cultural shift becomes an important aspect of it. As I said, an organization which is not tuned to an adaptive and agile way of thinking, for them, it becomes a big challenge there. So you have to really train people to think in an agile way, practice agile. Be responsive to changes, be not reactive to changes, right? Scope creep, again, it's again part of the change management. How do you look at a scope creep, right? And you don't have to purely look at the lens of scope creep from a contract negotiation standpoint. So this much was agreed in the contract and we're getting this much, and now the scope has changed. So you start kind of chasing the customer about the scope creep. Of course, you are negotiating with the customer about how the additional work or whatever work has been kind of is coming out. Additional work is coming out of the process, but then your lens is not the contract or the terms. The lens is about the customer's business and how this change is going to impact their business, their users, and that way all right, we had a small interruption here. All right, so we have covered um, the benefits and the challenges, and we have arrived at the last section of our session, which is about the case study, right? So let's spend some time to go through the case study scenario. I will break all the participants into groups, and you will be given around 10 minutes to read and analyze the information which is presented on my screen. I can also share it in the chat window. Your reflections and analysis as what went well and what could be improved in the sprint, and also show you each improvement issues is mapped to the value and the principles of the agile process, right? So remember the values and principles. So I will leave you with the case study for 10 minutes, and we'll connect back in each of the group, and so that you can present your reflection, and we'll take that in alphabetical order. I hope this works for everyone, and let me know if you have any questions. All right. All right. So all right. I think we missed some slides, but let me resume from here. Right. So we covered the benefits and the challenges here, right? Which is very important to understand. What does it need as an organization to be able to really appreciate and be able to follow the agile process, cultural shift, scope creep, and resource management, very important aspects. Let's come to the last section of our session, which is about the case study. And you can see that I've shared this content with you. I'll also share the content with you in the chat group. Let's spend some time to go through the case scenario. I'll break the participants into different groups, and you know, you will get some around 10 to 15 minutes to read through it, and then you will have to present your reflections in terms of what went wrong and what went good and how it could be improved. So remember the values and the principles, right? So each of the aspects in terms of problems or the issues or the actions, they are mapped to somewhere on the values or on the principle side, right? So keep that in mind as a frame of reference. And I hope that everybody is able to has access to this, and let me know if you have any questions. So we'll connect in another 10 minutes. Yeah. All right. So we are connected again. So let's look at what each of the groups have presented. Let's look at the first group here. I can see that, you know, you have nicely categorized into 2x2 metrics in terms of, you know, what went good, what was bad, the ideas that can help improve the situation.